Hey, Malcolm Torres here, host of the Sea Stories and Science Fiction YouTube channel and podcast. And today I want to talk to you for a few minutes about a great book that I'm reading. I'm actually in the progress of reading this book right now, which is really strange. I would not normally do a review for a book that I hadn't finished yet, but I'm down in the last couple chapters on this book and it's just been awesome and I just want to tell you about it. So the book is called Transformed and the author is Remi Adeleke, and it's Remi Adeleke's autobiography. And the cool thing is that he's a young guy. He's it's like the first few chapters of his life, and the really interesting thing is that if you read this story, you see it takes you to a certain point, which is just a couple years ago, and he's actually doing some really interesting things today. So it's kind of cool to see what he's doing now and then kind of read about where he came from. So the fascinating thing about this guy's life, and again, no spoilers, everything that I'm going to tell you in this review, you could read right here on the book jacket cover. I want to tell you about it just from a kind of a reader's standpoint, a reviewer's standpoint, how inspirational and interesting this book is. So he's born and he grows up for his first few years in Nigeria. His life and his story are breaking stereotypes in every page. You're like, you think you know, oh, well, this is what this is going to be about. And it's like not totally different than what you would think. His father is actually really rich, and he's a bit of a dignitary and aristocrat in Nigeria. And he is a real estate developer, and he has an insurance company. And Remi and his brother and his mom are there with him. And, you know, you get this scene of what it's like being a little kid, kind of a little rich kid in Nigeria. And then a bit of a tragedy. He ends up having to leave Nigeria, and you kind of go through this. Again, I'm not going to give it away. But then he ends up growing up in New York, in New York City, in the Bronx, which is, you know, kind of a rough neighborhood that he's raised in. And he's raised in, like, you know, the 90s and the you know, that time frame. So he's like, he does get into some stuff that you would kind of predict. Like, he's really into rap music and hip hop music. And he wants to be like a music producer. And he ends up running some hustles and getting arrested a few times for some kind of minor crimes. But while this is happening, you're thinking to yourself, hey, wait, you know, it says here on the cover that he was a Navy SEAL and he's got a little bit of a criminal record. So what's going on there? And just like, again, you're moving from Africa as a little kid, moving to the Bronx as like a, you know, young guy growing up, becoming a teenager, getting into his late teens. And then he moves again to become a Navy SEAL. And you kind of follow along with him through this journey, and you're just seeing, you get the title of the book, right? Transformed. He really does go through a transformation at each stage in his life. And it's just really cool to get to know him. The book is very inspirational. It's very much about setting goals and kind of achieving the things that you want to achieve in life, how you control your own destiny through your actions. There are certain people along the way that help him, but he's such a go-getter and he's such an inspirational person that you're really just ripping through one chapter after another, because the guy's life is like a plot. His life has a great plot to it, and you really just want to find out, like, how is he going to get from where he is to where, you know, the book cover tells you he is. In today's times, I mean, you know, politically with, you know, we've just got to tear down racism and discrimination in society. And to read this book is super inspirational, because you see a black guy from New York City growing up and becoming a Navy SEAL, and you kind of see the path that he makes for himself. And it's very affirming in that, like, you see it, right? And you get it, and you see, like, individual determination plus, you know, systems like the criminal justice system or the music industry or the U.S. Navy or the Navy SEALs, like the individual and these systems, like you see how a person can get to a place where they're really successful. And even beyond his youth and being in the Navy, now he's moved into becoming a bit of a celebrity. He's an actor, he's a screenwriter, he's a movie director and producer, And it's just really cool to see like this success that he's having. And so much of it is like this balance between his own determination and like society and business and the military, you know, creating opportunities for him. So really very inspirational and interesting to read. Another aspect to this story is that you could go on YouTube, you go on Instagram, you could go on Google and just look up Remi Adeleke, and you can see that this is a young guy who's really making things happen for himself and other people today in the movie business. He's been in a number of movies and shows. He's producing and writing. So like it's real time. It's kind of cool to see a person that's achieving success, very inspirational individual, making things happen. And he's like, he's all about that. Like when you watch his little videos on Instagram, you get this sense of like self-determination and goal setting and like going for it, you know. And I think people like that, you know. It's very magnetic. It's very charismatic. So that's kind of cool, right? And you're wondering like, who is this guy? And then boom, you read his story and it takes you back, you know, more than 20 years to when he was a kid. And then you're like, you're just kind of all over the place, and it's really kind of takes your brain on a journey that you probably wouldn't go on in any other way. Like to go back to Nigeria with him as a child, be like, wow, this is interesting, this is really fascinating. But then to come to America and like kind of follow along with him growing up in the Bronx with his mom and his brother and his aunt, his grandmother, and seeing like that core family that really made a huge difference for him. The fact that his father had died when he was small, and that he didn't really have a strong male figure in his life, and kind of some of the problems that caused for him, but then also some of the personal determination that he developed as a result of not having a father growing up. There's one kind of funny thing that I'll tell you about the story. It's like, you know, there's this old saying. It's like, what is it? It's like white men can't jump. You know, it's kind of a joke. Like, you know, white guys trying to play basketball, they don't have enough elevation really to slam dunk, right? So you kind of hear that. It's funny, haha. But then you also kind of the flip side of that is you kind of hear this old saying like, you know, black guys can't swim, right? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be racist, okay? But it's just one of these funny things, right? And I think if I ever talked to Mr. Adeleke, he would kind of agree with me. It's sort of one of the aspects of the book, and he even makes fun of himself. Like he says, like, he's a little black kid growing up in New York, and he never been swimming. He doesn't know how to swim, but he wants to be a frogman. He wants to be a Navy SEAL. and it's just kind of like totally outrageous to think that like he's going to be a Navy SEAL. But you see him minute by minute, day by day, and the kind of determination that this individual has. And you see like he gets to a Navy base in California. He buys swim trunks, he gets in the pool, and he can't swim, you know? And you're just like, this guy's crazy, but he's going for it, right? And he's literally like asking the lifeguard, like, hey, can you come down here and help me to swim? And the lifeguard's like, no, I can't, but I can stay up here and tell you how to swim. And it's just like, go, man, just get it, man, just get it, right? And then sure enough, you know, if you know anything about the Navy SEALs, you got to be able to swim, right? And he's got to swim like a mile out in the ocean in the cold water. And you're like, huh? And he gets in there and he's like, he's having a hard time with it. And you're just like, your heart goes out to him, but he just has so much determination. And like, he just refuses to quit. Like, and I guess that's probably the driving force in this book is like, he just refuses to quit. And it brings you into this mental space where you're like, what a way to live. Like, to set goals and then just like refuse to quit, you know? And it is like transformed, right? Like it's his transformation that he just, if you refuse to quit, what are you going to do? Your goals are set. You're going to reach them. You're going to transform, right? So it's that kind of message, which is really cool and very relevant today in our society. You know, U.S. history is rife with discrimination and prejudice, and you know, here's a guy who's obviously African American, and he is moving from one space to the next in business, in the military, in entertainment, even in a religious sense, in a spiritual sense. So I take a great amount of inspiration from this story, and I highly recommend that you get a copy of this. I understand it's out in paperback now, and if you're on Instagram, I recommend following him. He's got some great posts, very inspirational guy. And then you can also look him up and check out some of his movies that he's been acting in and he's producing. So, Remi Adeleke, Transformed. Thanks for joining me. I'm Malcolm Torres. This is the Sea Stories and Science Fiction YouTube channel. I've got a podcast. If you're into sea stories and science fiction, I've got a lot of episodes on the podcast. It's great if you're taking a long drive, you're out for a jog or on the treadmill, or you're just laying around, you want to listen to some salty stories or some high-tech stories, some fictitious and non-fiction stories. I've got a lot of stories on there you can check out. I appreciate it. If you would hit the like button and make some comments, subscribe and share, and follow me out there and on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and other places. I'm on Goodreads, I'm on Reddit, I'm on LinkedIn. Looking to hang out with you on the social networks and get into sea stories and science fiction.